Okay, greetings again. I think I'm going to sneak one in real quick here. I was just looking in Exodus, and let's see. In Exodus, it says, "Now when the people saw that Moses delayed coming down from the mountain, the people gathered together to Aaron and said to him, 'Come, make us gods that shall go before us. For for as for this Moses, the man who brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we don't know what has become of him.'" So the people, while Moses was up on the mountain, he delayed and they couldn't wait and they got frustrated. And the man that brought them out of Egypt helped them get out of Egypt, right? Come out of sin, darkness. Egypt means darkness. They said he delays and we don't know what has come of him. So make us gods in the meantime, Elohims, to worship. And Aaron caved in. They didn't hang on. They didn't have that patience. So then I know this is like, see, this teaching, I believe, spans out. It's true for every believer in every generation. Don't we read in the parable somewhere that Messiah speaks of that he speaks of himself as delaying? And then some servants began to get drunk and beat other servants, party time, party mode, forget it all because of this delay. And says, "Oh, he's not coming." It's going to be a long delay, a long time. You think that's a coincidence with Moses? And the scriptures speak of that delay and what people do because of this delay in their minds and hearts. They make other gods in the meantime that they can reap the benefits, in their own mind right now to make these other gods, these other Elohims. The golden calf, and spiritually people are making golden calves. Spiritually, it's happening within the temple, within people's minds and hearts. So this delay is mentioned in the parables too. That's the connection I see. And I believe it's true for every believer in every generation, until the end. There's a delay, and this delay is a long time, I guess, from our perspective, but the kingdom now, it's a spiritual, it's worshiping in spirit and truth and keeping his commandments. But people don't have this patience, so they sprout and then they die, like the parable says, and they start to worship other deities, other gods. They get the benefits of the church world and gossip and party and music and feel good stuff, fleshly stuff. And then they forget everything spiritual, or, they never really knew it anyway. They never grew and came to an understanding of truth, knowledge of truth. They're ever learning, never coming to knowledge of truth. This is like what Israel was, ever learning, never coming to knowledge of truth. Always setting off the anger of the Father, that judgment that is inevitable when people sin, when his people sin. So I just thought it was interesting that they didn't have patience. They had this delay and they thought, who knows what's become of Moses? Now I wonder how many people spiritually have this going on in their heart. Who knows what's become of the Messiah? I don't really believe in him. I just pretend, and I'll talk about him or stuff. But when it actually comes to real life and living the true way, oh, I don't know what's become of him. I don't actually believe there's a kingdom or anything, or that he even exists, or that even a creator exists. I don't really believe any of that. Now, they would never say such a thing, and neither would the Israelites just blatantly go around saying that. It's always a mixture of worshiping and getting into the world's stuff while still hanging on and claiming that they believe in the one true Elohim, one true Father. creator, like the Pharisees. They never let go of claiming they believed in the creator, and they took pride in that. We believe there's only one, and this is the greatest commandment, that he, Elohim, is one. He's one Elohim. He's one Father, one creator. Him alone. They said these words, but he called them devils. Messiah called the people who said that devils. That's worse spiritually. That's much worse than someone getting cussed out, telling a religious person that he's a devil. I don't think it can be beaten. No, it can't be beaten. But, the intentions were right, and it was righteous, proper judgment. They were true words with true intentions. Speaking truth because he cares for truth, not just in spite, just to make himself look good. Yeah, he did all this so he could get beaten, hated, and no one loves him, no one likes him, right? Who'd be crazy enough to do that? People naturally want to do the opposite. Go along to get along and to be liked by everyone as much as possible and to be popular and famous. Well, the Messiah did everything wrong for that. He did the perfect opposite for that. He did everything you can to be hated, not treated right, not believed on. He did, the Father's will, which ends up being the opposite of what man wants, his will. So, the king, I don't know how it says it in the parable, but there's a delay. And then he comes back to that servant in the parable. Remember, it's a parable. Some people go really silly with these parables because they don't understand parables. Comes back to the servant, right? And then, we know the rest. Don't want to be called a wicked, unprofitable servant. They can't see that this parable is for everyone. There's people out there that teach, he came back to the same man in the parable, therefore he had to come back within 40 years, some nonsense like this. That's like with Moses saying to the people that the prophet's going to come before you, the prophet's coming, and you will hear his words, and you will hear him out. You will listen to him, his words, and hear him out. And then it took 1,500 years for Messiah to come, to be born. So that didn't happen to the people that Moses was directly talking to, did it? It was prophecy that spanned a long period of time. And so also it's prophecy that man shall be changed, will be changed in a moment, twinkling of an eye. This never happened. There's a group of people out there that say it did. People were changed, I guess, in a moment and twinkling of an eye, and now see him as he is. And death being the last enemy was, I guess, destroyed. It's all over. Death is done away with. Sin is done away with. Atoning for sin is done away with. That's what they have to teach. But they can't rightly divide, that when he spoke to the people, it wasn't for literally them at that time. They didn't know when the end would be. They didn't know for sure. They didn't have a clue. People in every generation, I suppose, believe it would be their end. We have more evidence now that people didn't see 50 years ago. But the people that claim these things, they're spiritually insane and blind and contradict the scriptures in more ways than I can count. I think that's it for this one. The delay, it's pretty, what does Revelation say, that the rest of the saints have to be killed in like manner? Well, I guess that spans a pretty long time period, doesn't it? Like from this point on, the kingdom of heaven is being, you know, people are trying to enter it with violence, like we read. From that point on, it would be attacked, and be brutally attacked with violence. And it's still going on. The fakes, the frauds, hate the true, real worshipers of our Father. This still is going on. It still exists. And there's going to be an end, I believe, like a peak to all this evil. I don't think it's there yet. There's going to be something like King Herod, this Herod guy 2,000 years ago, that was so crazy he wanted to kill all the two-year-old and under just to get to the Messiah and kill him. I believe this is a type of what the insanity of the devil in the last days, something like this worldwide. Try to kill off all the saints, maybe, like Herod did. I believe it was a type of something brutal like that would be on a much greater level scale. And the way this world is, it's not too hard to weed them out, I guess. If the true believers will not worship anything that's false, then it's going to be pretty easy to, I don't even think anybody that's not spiritual, that doesn't truly believe, they won't even know what's happening. They don't know what's happening right now. They can't see that they're in sin now anyways. So whatever comes, they won't see it. If someone's spiritually blind, they're not going to see the spiritual things going on. You have to remember that the anti-Messiah spirit was already back then many, and it's been ever since. I don't see anything that changed, said that this would go away suddenly. That same anti-Messiah spirit is been in this world, and it's been going on. And when it gets to its peak, it wants to just kill all the saints for some reason. It just has a hate for them. And this is what it was, like a brutal end to Jerusalem. And a lot of people were martyred. A lot of saints were martyred, and even meditating on Herod getting to a bunch of 2 years old and under just to get to the Messiah. What kind of fear is that? Fear for a baby of what he would become years later. He had a weird, twisted belief. Some kind of belief, enough. I mean, he wasn't a true believer, but he believed enough to be worried about him. And I don't see anything that says that this world, when truth starts coming out, they're going to be worried, because if the kingdom truly did spread and turn the world upside down like it was for a little short time, that does damage to mankind's kingdom. It's because it's a backwards kingdom. It doesn't like that. It needs greed, riches, money, killing people, whatever, spiritual death. It thrives on that to produce what it's doing now. So when truth starts coming out on a grand scale, which it can so easily today with technology, and the Spirit's poured out, well, then there's going to be a counter to that, just like there was back then. I don't see anything. I believe that's what will happen, because this world can't accept, the devil can't accept the kingdom spreading and thriving on earth. That can't happen. So I believe all of that was a type, Jerusalem, the temple crumbling, every stone, the death of religion and false people is going to have to happen on a grand scale, which means that the martyred ones are going to happen probably on a grand scale too. But like finding some kind of clever, crafty way to weed them out, because the devil is called crafty. His clever devices, people's devices, his messengers are crafty like that. When it comes to evil, they come up with all kinds of clever things for evil tools. but the average believer out there, they are going along to get along. They don't see anything. I suppose it always has been leading up to that, the prophecy and revelation, but it's always growing. It's always there. It always was there. It was always something that existed to come out of her, my people. Those words were always true. 500 years ago, those words were true. They're true now. They'll be true tomorrow. But I think people can see, everything's going to this digital world, which is kind of cold. There's something real cold about it, even though the technology is pretty crazy. But like everything is just digital. I don't know what that means exactly, but I don't know, is that a good thing? It's not going to be used for good, that's for sure. It's not being used for good. Could be used for good, but it could easily be used to like click a button and end your life. Like all you have to do is click a button and your life is over. Why not? Why wouldn't someone do that? Why wouldn't the devil? Why wouldn't the people that run this world do that if they can? Because greed never ends, does it? That's what the scriptures teach. The eye is never satisfied. Never, ever. So it's going to keep going faster. It's going to keep speeding up. The hamster wheel is going to keep spinning until the ceramic bearings are smoking. And it seems like we just have to keep going faster and faster. And then people have less and less patience in a faster world. I think people are getting places and doing things like that were unimaginable before, and they have less patience. And since this is around everywhere with everyone, it bleeds off to everyone. So it's something it obviously affects everyone. But yeah, this global agenda, this worldwide agenda with sustainability and stuff, and there's obviously some problems. I don't know where it's going to go exactly, but it's, there's an obvious agenda that no matter what country you're in or what party, left or right, red or blue, they're going to continue to push this agenda. That's painfully obvious to me. No one's going to go against that. If someone does try to go against it, they're going to be taken out, just moved out of the way. See ya. And it's, if ruling the world, like the whole world, small group of people, one man, whatever, with a group behind them is something that's possible, why not keep going until that's reached? Why stop here with sovereign nations and stuff? Why not just mix it all together and rule them all? Find a way to bring martial law and make it more of a daily occurrence. Just get everyone used to everything like they have been doing for years. Which with this election problem stuff, it's probably why it's happening, is just so they can maybe use martial law in the future, have some kind of good excuse for it, and people will actually want it. They're always going to want something that's bad for them, that's going to bite them back in the end. People always want something that's going to destroy them. That's what the history says. I don't think it was any different during Hitler's times. People wanted, because it sounded good and everything they were told was supposedly good or hopeful or whatever, and then it wasn't that. So, our Creator's so confident in mankind's destruction, spiritual destruction, that when they start saying peace, start screaming peace, 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 world peace. then sudden destruction is right around the corner. Which it's not a joyful message, but that's what I read. I don't see anything else. When they start saying peace, who? I don't know, the really powerful religious leaders, the big people in the world that are connected to the beast, because religion and the beast is, they ride, she rides him. They're one. They're one. So when the big shots start saying peace and world peace, you know that their intentions are false, just like it was in Genesis, and that their hearts were only evil continually from the heart, the intentions of the heart. Interesting verse in Genesis, the intentions of the heart. Why would it be different? Because we're modern now? Got it all figured out now, right? It's gonna be a replay, and people even know this to some degree. You don't learn history, it's just gonna repeat itself. Well, yeah, it's gonna happen with regardless of whether people say that or not. It's still gonna happen. Because mankind is just literally not able to accomplish world peace or, anything truly, following our creator's way. They just can't do it unless they deny themselves, which goes against their nature, which goes against their pride, goes against everything that the natural mind wants, thinks. But it's not, it's not a bad thing. It's nice not to trust in yourself. But you can rely on someone much far greater than you for everything. But people, I guess they don't want that. So Babylon, I think America's the queen of Babylon. I mean, how could she not be? She's the last days queen of Babylon, and the Statue of Liberty is sort of that powerful symbol of being a queen. And the spirit of the people is, no one can touch us. We sit as a widow, and we will never see mourning. Scripture says, oh, and one day you'll see it. I mean, if that's not prophecy for things that are happening now, I don't know what is. It's always true, but this to me seems like it just fits so well. Fits too well, the queen of Babylon, Like the whole world is Babylon, but there's a queen, there's a leader of it. And it seems to me it's the Christian nation, would be the equivalent of Israel back then, where people would say, this is Israel, this is a group of believers. And most of them were not true believers. Just a few thousand, couple thousand in every generation. He has mercy to thousands that trust in him. It's interesting how the word thousands is used and not something greater. It's because there's never many. There's only few compared to the many. There's only many called, few chosen that actually believe in him. Within the kingdom, within what's called Israel, there's only a few that really believe in him. The rest in this kingdom just, they never listened to the prophets. They just mocked them. Hated them, whatever, They did that to Messiah. They'll do it to you. Same thing. So when someone says Christian nation, I used to have a different thought for what that meant. Now it's a little, that's changed. Like I don't see that as such a positive thing. I don't see it the same way. Unfortunately, because Christianity is apostatized from the true way. And they've done what Israel's always done, they've mixed in with the nations, with paganism and their ways and their beliefs. They mixed in with that. And his people always had a problem with mixing with the nations. their ways, their gods. Uh, now this is much more a spiritual problem. This is spiritual Babylon. And there's she's the most powerful, the biggest military. But it doesn't matter if we believe the scriptures, the numbers don't really matter. If the Father says time for judgment, it doesn't matter how big someone's military is. It's going to happen some way, somehow. I believe the people, they really do believe this country is unlike any other, that it can't be taken down. It just can't happen. And that fits that scripture so well. She sits as a widow, meaning by herself. No one can touch me. No one will never see mourning. And the scripture says, you will. It's coming. Even if it's not specifically about this country, that's still true. I could still apply it to this or any country, nations. There's a time where nations last and then they fall away and they're gone. It's interesting they don't teach you in school why do all these nations, they exist and then they don't exist. What on earth happens to all of them? Every single one of them. There's no nation that's still standing that's 1,000 years old. What on earth happened to them all? And how come they always skip the giant, huge war in 70 AD? How come they never teach you that in school? Jerusalem, a very real city. And the Romans that they love so much and teach you about, they don't teach you about the greatest battle and destruction that the Romans conquered, one of them. They skip it. I never heard it. And the Egyptians were the Israelites' neighbors, Israel's neighbors, not very far away, neighbors. And they never mentioned the Israelites in school. I never heard it, but they talk about Egypt a lot. They talked to me, they brought up Egypt quite a bit, art class, other classes. But forget the Israelites, strange. The most accurate, detailed history book that exists about a nation, and they skip it and act as if it's all myth, but they'll talk about their myths, about the Egyptians' gods and all these other things, right? The Romans, the Greeks, Alexander the Great, but forget everything else. Forget the New Testament writings. Don't teach them that. Definitely not. Well, anyways, my rant's over. I think for the night. So I see the same problem. People are, so Messiah went up the mountain, and he went up to the Father, so to speak. And so Messiah being that type, but he truly went up to the Father, the true fulfillment of that, not just some mountain. And then Moses came down shining the piece of glory, and the people didn't have patience. He delayed, and they didn't know what became of him. So in the meantime, let's worship other gods. And so the Messiah says in the parable, he delays, and he comes down the mountain in full glory, shining in glory like Moses. And what's he going to find? Something different than what I read in scripture? I don't think so. He's going to find the same thing, all his people worshiping other gods spiritually. Spiritual fornication, like Israel always had a problem with. Breaking the commandments, all these things. And he even says, will I find faith on the earth? Will I find faith when I come? It's a rhetorical question. The answer is always no. Very few, very little. Or another way of saying that is, it will be like Noah's day, which is not a good thing. It means very few believers during Noah's day. So Christianity as a whole, when it starts teaching certain things, oh man, millions and billions of believers you don't really believe those words, do you? It's going to be like Noah's days, and you're saying it's the last days, and there's billions of them, millions and billions. of true believers everywhere. There's only 8 out of however many there were back then, 8 true believers. And Messiah is saying it's going to be just like that. It's going to be something like that, meaning few believers, and the rest of them paganized, not true believers. You know, I can't find a scripture that says the opposite. They all line up. Will I find faith on the earth like Noah's day? Just a sinful world waiting for destruction in general in scripture. Dark, gloomy day. It's never of like the whole world's believing. That would be the world's teaching, that everything is getting better and everyone believes and it's all good. So it's not even pessimistic, it's just truth, that's all. It is what it is. I see it right now. They don't the scriptures say more than once that the saints have his way and him on his mind day and night. I mean, if we just take one verse seriously, we can find out that if we really believe it, that this is not true for the vast majority of all people. Day and night, meditating on day and night. I don't think so. But somehow those words are like old. It's the Old Testament. The saints now, they don't have truth on their mind or his way on them day and night now. Now it's the opposite, right? Where's the verse for that? There is no verse, but they imply it. They won't say it outright like that, but they sure imply it. And many other things, like the Messiah says, and you do many other things like this. So they also do. Spiritual problem, spiritual Babylon. And it's not exactly fun, because there's no real unity or fellowship or anything with someone that's in darkness. It doesn't happen, not really. So I got Christmas lights all around me, like literally all around me here. Here's some over here, there's some over there, there's some over there, there's some over there you probably can't see, there's some back behind me. So it looks pretty, I guess, but this is all truly pagan origins. I see a Christmas tree through a window right now, and that's in the scriptures. That's what pagans do, Gentiles do. They deck the trees and they do this, and it's like sacrifice or belief in other gods, all this stuff. And I know people aren't like bowing down to literal statues and stuff, but this is happening spiritually. They just don't see it. By not worshiping the Father, they automatically worship whatever else. That's all. They put it above him, above something else. So the decking of the tree is actually literally in the scriptures, which I find it mind-numbing. You could read it word for word, and then, Christianity is pretty much okay with it. December, wintertime, darkness, this has connection to darkness, pagan deities going way back. This time of year, obviously, Messiah was not born on December 25th. He wasn't born on a pagan calendar to start with. There was no December 25th for the Israelites. The Romans might have had something similar to that 2,000 years ago, but there was no December 25th for the Israelites. So we're not even on the right calendar. But I found out that no one cares about that either. In Daniel it says the times, they would change times and law. Why would that prophecy be in there if it had no importance or no value? Our Creator's seriously going to make up a prophecy that has zero importance, value. Oh, they're going to do this in the future, but it doesn't matter. So why even prophesy about it? Well, I don't know. I'm God. I'm trying to bring out the stupidity in some of this. Obviously, it's important. And to me, it's important, but to people, why would you expect it to be important? You can't expect it to be important for them. And I believe this truth is coming back in the last days. That's how we know we're in crazy times. The true worshipers will know his days, and they will keep his commandment. That's what they want to do. This knowledge is coming back, to a certain amount of people in the last days, because he's coming for an assembly, a church that's not in sin and steeped in paganism. So there must be a group of people that keep the true way at the end, because he's coming back for, if there was absolutely no one that believes, then he'll never come back. So, and there's other scriptures that I can't remember that give a condition, like this will happen if my people do this in the Old Testament. And so then we know that the times are like that, when people all around the world, the few, are one with, they're one in the spirit, they're seeing the same thing. Then I think, the time for the man ruling is going to be close to over. The beast is going to be close to over. And I am seeing that, there are a few that are waking up to truth. The rest will continue in darkness and resist it. And it's going to go along, people have a silly, weird kind of understanding with the last days. They don't pay attention to a few key words. People will be eating and drinking and getting married and going as if nothing is going on. And then boom, there's a flood. So it's not going to be something obvious like I see so many people and channels make it out to be. Look, this is the next sign, rapture tomorrow. It's coming like so much for coming like a thief in the night, which spiritually this is true every day in every generation, coming as a thief in the night. To the rich man that built more barns, oh, I'll take your life now. Now where's all your goods going to go to now? To him, he came like a thief in the night, 2,000 years ago in the parable. But still, where's the teaching that he's going to come in some kind of, the signs will be there for those watching only. To the rest, it's going to be like they can't see anything. They're going to be the mockers and scoffers. And a day is like 1,000 years. I really do think that implies that it's in his own time, and it could be a long time, which it has been. I think that's used even in the beginning. You will die in the day you eat it. So if you have a day for 1,000 years, then Adam died before 1,000 years. He died in the day that he ate of it, because he doesn't, make mistakes. He didn't live past one day or 1,000 years. Eating and drinking, getting married, So this has a picture of everything is going along just fine. The world's not going to just like blow up and look, it's smoke everywhere, And here's the warning for all people, and all people are going to be alarmed and know. I don't think so. I don't see it like that. But, I think that the true believers have a certain spirit. They, like the very last verse in Revelation, I'll just say that. All the true believers always had that. The last verse in Revelation, that's what they have. Doesn't matter what time they're in. The rest of the world doesn't actually want that. Like I've said before, if they were in a closet with buttons and nobody knew about it, no one genuinely knew, and they could push this button and say, it's over. The kingdoms of this world have become the kingdoms of the Father. It's over. Push the button. I'm confident that the vast majority of believers that say, oh, Jesus, would not push that button, would open the door, shut it, and then say nothing about it. And they could have pushed the button. I give that example just to hopefully bring something out. I don't believe they would if they could. I don't, you know. Because remember, the false anti-Messiah spirit always gives the 180 thing. It always looks good, but it's always doing the opposite. Saints don't come masquerading as an angel of light. The devil does, and his people do. A true saint is just whatever he is. Look, there he is. That's what he is. He's not a fake, a fraud. Devils have this in mind, and they just do it naturally. They put on that mask and they are something that they pretend to be something they're not, and they masquerade. And the devil has to do this, otherwise everyone would know his evil intentions, and it would be too much, too obvious. So when we see the world leaders saying certain things, they have to say those things. I just wish I could get someone to see that, but I haven't been able to do it in real life. I'm like, that's nice, but they have to say that. Don't you get it? They can't say the opposite. It's a little frustrating. What are they going to do? Say, we want to kill you all. We want to spiritually destroy you all. We just want to control you more and squeeze more money out of you. That's what they're going to say day and night to the people. They have to say what they're saying. Just like a liar that's been exposed as a liar has to cover and deny he lied. He can't do anything else. He has to do that. Pride won't let him do anything else. Everyone's been there. I've been there. You have to do it, Oh, I didn't do this. I didn't do this. You have to say that. It's okay. I forgive you. You have to say that. I understand. There's nothing else. Why would you admit it, Well, this wasn't like 5 minutes like I thought it would be, so I think that's it for the night, and that's all I got.